We're still waiting for, I know Sade's coming.
Is Tom Borland still on the EAC?
No,
Oh, okay. Because I saw him at a park school on like pre-K orientation day, and I told him that if he wasn't on the EAC, I was going to drag him into volunteering as a committee chair for the PTA. And he was like, "No, I'm joining the EAC." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right."
because I think he moved to the town, Leilani.
Oh, the PTA don't care.
I know, trust me. Been there, done that.
He's all yours.
Town, village, we love all volunteers.
Hi,
They're trying to
May.
get me for Claremont.
You realize that there is a heat wave in San Francisco?
Like up to 80 degrees or something?
About 95.
No way.
Yep, for the next 5-6 days. My son was sent home from work today.
Oh my gosh.
90, they don't know what to do, bro. They're like, they're all
It's
dying.
it's about 109 in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's really bad. It's really
Kate, I
bad.
was there
heard
2
some-
weeks ago. It was 68 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It was like,
I wonder if people even have ACs out there. It's
Nobody
just-
has them.
What are we going to do when California stops being able to produce most of our fresh fruits and vegetables?
That's a little disconcerting. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. That's why we have y'all.
And on that lovely note,
I'm just
We have
saying.
a couple of people, it looks like, in the attendee aisle. Not Sade, though. Does anybody have Sade's contact information? She said she would be here, so.
I mean, we can give her a couple of more minutes. It's
Jaime, why don't we give her
7:32.
2 or 3 minutes? And then, since this is the EAC, so it's not like it's the BOT. I don't mean to demean you guys at all. Don't take it that way. You guys can have your meeting. You can actually go through everything. And Kate, you can prepare the necessary letter and do what has to be done, because I know we've
Okay.
got JB here, we've got Paul Berthet here. So,
Okay, good. I was going to ask if 65 Main Street was here. I did try to reach out to Alexis Cole from, we recently heard from someone from the co-op. Sorry, I forget the full name of it, but I never heard back from her. I did forward the link for tonight, so if she wanted to join, the option is there, but I doubt we're going to hear from her. Let me see, where are we here? Yeah, oh yeah, it was the High Meadow Co-op sustainability efforts had reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and wanted to talk to us about hearing what the EAC might have to say about possible projects that they were working on and get any kind of information about what we do. I did try to set up a phone call with her, but I'll follow up and see if they still want to meet with us at some point in the future.
All right, if everybody's okay, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and bring in 65 May.
Yes, so I guess we will start the meeting. So Kate Schlott, chairperson, present. We can. Leilani?
Dooley,
Mary Dooley here.
Katie Albert,
Katie,
Here.
and Sade Toro and Victor Vivadu are not here and will be marked as absent.
So the applicants for 65 Main Street are here.
Bring them in right now.
All right. Hello, Jorge.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Good. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you. How are you guys ready to deal with this rain?
Doing well.
Paul, who's an engineer for the project, is on board as well. And if I, I'm gonna just walk through it, Jaime, just share the screen and walk through it, or how do you wanna?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share screen.
All right, so this is 65 Main Street. I believe everybody's familiar with this, the existing building that is there now and is has been there over 100 years. It's about 8,000 square foot lot, and it is kind of located on a platform that is left at the end of Main Street and across from 80 Main Street. This is something, some old pictures that we have been able to collect, which shows how the building was always there. And there's this interesting picture of an arch that somewhere in there it still exists. What we are doing with the project is we are we're trying to restore as much as we can the existing structure. And then we are adding approximately about 10,000 square feet, so probably it's going to be about 12,000 square feet total. We are adding parking at the lower level, and then at the street level, we are adding a restaurant. And then as we go up, we will have 5 dwelling units, duplex style, and the first unit is one above the other. The other ones are all duplex. This gives you a better idea, so we can understand the project. We are, again, the restaurant, the units, and they have balconies overlooking the river. Again, we're trying to keep the building, existing building, restore it, and we adding the units as you go up the Main Street, and the architectural, we're trying to do the same architecture as up on Main Street. In the rear, we're going to have a balconies overlooking the river, and there's going to be parking underneath those balcony and platform. This is some other renderings and 3Ds that we have done, and we share them with the planning board. These are the finishes that we are using. So we're trying to have the architectural kind of separate the style, so it kind of goes along with Main Street. Oh, hold on. I think I overpassed the landscaping plan. There you go. Landscaping plan, there is not much of this lot that we can utilize. We have the driveway, we have the building. So what we're doing is we add in a red and a sugar maple, and then we add in a small shrubbery at the bottom and a small shrubbery along the sidewalk. Again, this is as is shown in the first picture, what gives the very good idea of what we're dealing with. This is basically the lot, and this is basically what we are dealing with. So we're not increasing, we are in maples and shrubbery, and this will be the whole extension of the building. I know that Paul has worked on doing some stormwater, and he has an engineer report. He was proposing to do a rain garden. Not sure what other information the board will need, or if you have a chance to review the information we provided.
I actually have a question that's first for Stuart and possibly Jaime. Does the property that he's purchased include essentially the hill all the way down to the kill?
No,
Okay, so who owns that hill that basically like ramps up to where that wall is? If you go back to that historical image page, please.
so the quick answer is we currently own it. The longer answer is that after the DPW site is redeveloped, the bulk of that will belong to the developer of the DPW. So everything on, I guess, the northwest side, that will all be owned by Wilder Walter if that project does go through, which we're assuming it will. And everything sort of to the northeast side will be the villages.
Gotcha. I guess the reason I'm asking is also included in this picture right across the street. They built this huge, heavy new structure there, and then it collapses. So I'm concerned about, if we increase the weight of this particular property with 5 new buildings, has any remediation been done to ensure that that hillside, which is fairly prone to erosion, will not also collapse?
I mean, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I think the answer is no. Nothing has been done, and they have not done any investigatory work to make sure that that building can go there. That has been asked of the applicant, and the information has not been provided.
Okay. That's my biggest concern right now. Because we know that the hills basically along the entire kill there are eroding very quickly. I mean, the walkway has been shut several times because of trees just, so we should probably be mindful of projects going there that are increasing the number of buildings rather than removing them. And I'm assuming, Jorge, that you consulted the village's native plant guide for when you selected your landscaping items?
Yes, yep.
Perfect. Are you planning on taking advantage of any of the more green technologies, especially ones that have now been green light for large tax breaks with the Inflation Reduction Act, such as solar panels on the roof?
Right now, we don't, there's not the intention not to have solar panels.
Okay.
But I'm not, that's something that can change in the future.
Yeah, just as I understand it, the Inflation Reduction Act has huge new tax windfalls for solar technologies.
Related to that is the question of heating and cooling of the building. Will it include heat pumps, for instance, instead of gas or oil as a source of heating and cooling?
Yes, right now, the intention is to have everything electrical. There's a moratorium, I guess. So
Yeah.
that there will be all electrical. Yeah.
Okay.
Is the impervious surface ratio increasing?
It's increasing about 4%.
Okay, you are using the rain garden.
It is increasing. It's also going to require a variance.
So right now, where we stand as with the project, and kind of circle back to what Henry was saying, we do understand that, and our client understands that there will be additional and extensive structural studies done before a building is built there. The idea is to utilize semi-rock cropping or pylons, so we're not going to rely on a wall to support the building, but those studies will come after. We want to make sure that we're able to secure all the variances that are required to accomplish this project. And I mean, this is like, it's a nice project.
I do want to. I'm gonna take a minute here. I have to stop you, JP. You have a staff report. You've got various emails. I want to be clear. You're not going to be able to get any variances or any approvals of any kind until you've completed seeker and a lot of those questions that need to be answered. Some of those studies need to be done in order to get through the seeker process. So I don't want anyone to be hearing this and thinking that, oh, you can get approvals and then do the studies. That's not the way the state law works. And so that's not how it's going to work here.
Okay.
And this is going back to that beautiful like patio you're setting up. Are you putting any trees or potted trees, potted shrubbery on that patio?
Right now, we're not showing any of that, but that can be something that we can explore.
I also wonder about they've got these great railing boxes that go off to the side where you can plant, other things just to continue to catch rainwater, additional rainwater, so it's not being lost on the impervious surface and then just rushing down into your drainage system. The more greenery you can put on that patio, either on the railings, will help reduce or help capture rainwater runoff, as well as just looking really nice.
Okay.
You may have mentioned it, but I missed it. Where will the rain garden go?
Cool.
Sorry about that. So we're proposing to capture the driveway that right before you go underneath the patio. JB, can you go to I think it's next sheet. So we're proposing to put it right at the base of the driveway with a sump. The overflow from the sump would, the sump would collect the sediment that comes down the driveway. Then we direct the that runoff from that trench drain into a rain garden just in the corner of between the wall and the building and the driveway. JB, can you move that drawing to the drainage plan, please?
I'm not. I don't have it as part of this.
Oh, all right. If you can share the screen with me, I'll pull it up.
I think the drainage plan is part of the engineer's report.
Yep.
Mhm.
Am I sharing?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Oh, I
So
see.
yeah, we're proposing to capture the runoff coming down the driveway. That'll have a sump before it goes into the rain gardens because we want to remove as much sediment as we can. And then for the overflow, we were proposing to put a level spreader on the low side of the wall to replicate the existing drainage patterns as they are now, where things are traveling down that slope.
Mhm.
So we would go from the trench drain into this rain garden, into an overflow structure here, and then to a level spreader that would distribute that key flow down as the existing conditions.
All right, thanks.
Really the only spot I had to work with here to
Yeah.
give
Very
some
tight site.
tight site.
Yeah. I am very excited to see that property may be utilized and updated like this. I think if the plans go through and we're able to properly ensure the security of the entire hill area, I think it'll be a lovely addition and right in line with the town's development. So
Just wanted to point out that the old house there is actually 200 years old.
Wow.
yeah, it's been really sad to watch it kind of like dilapidate.
1920s.
So so it'll be nice that it's being revitalized in such a way.
It is great. Every time I go by there, I keep thinking, I sure hope this house gets taken care of.
Mm.
So
Well,
good
it's
job.
exciting to see this before us again, because I know when this came before us in 2019, it was exciting to know that this something was going to happen. And at the same time, all of the craziness from the place across the street has kind of kicked up some nervousness, but this looks really good. We can get the reports and the studies done and get things moving through. That would be really nice. And I know a lot of the stuff that you've included in here are things that had been mentioned during the previous time that you were before us. So it's nice to see those things being included. I don't have any questions. Leilani and Katie actually brought up a number of issues that I had myself. So they've already brought those questions to light. But I don't have any comments at the moment. I can start writing up a recommendation letter. If there's anything that anybody wants to include, please let me know. Does anybody else have any comments or other questions?
I was curious, what is, so this is coming back around after, I guess it was, yeah, it was first seen a few years ago and now it's coming back. Has something happened to bring this back around? I know there was some sort of engineering report was required or something like.
Well, at the time when we had also needed a stormwater protection plan. So when it was brought to us originally, we didn't have any of that information, and we had provided some advice on how to proceed with adding more green space and trying to get shrubbery and trees in there. We also had spoken about garbage disposal and how that would be handled. So this is all an update, which we hadn't even seen before for the previous presentation.
This is currently in front of the planning board?
Yes, we're currently in front of the planning board and also the zoning board of appeals.
It's hard to believe that's gonna fit on that little lot, all that. That's amazing. You're not going off the lot at all into the hillside to the
Yeah,
uphill, you're not, wow, that's amazing. You're gonna have good views,
Mhm.
unless the apartment building below blocks them, but I don't know how that's gonna work.
It'll block some of the view.
Some of it, yeah.
No, a nice view of the Sing Sing Kill. And some people, I think the front of the building will have a view of the river, looking the other direction. So
Just out of curiosity, are any of these affordable units or are this all market rate?
this is on market rate.
Okay, they're wonderful apartments.
Thank you. Okay, so then the board will produce a recommendation letter for us. And thank you.
When does the planning board need the recommendation letter by, or when are you going before the next board?
the next meeting of the planning board, well, it kind of depends on JB and submission of materials. The next meeting they might make is the upcoming one, but that depends on if we get all of our materials by Thursday. So
Oh, that's this Thursday.
Mhm.
yeah, he has to get all his materials in this Thursday. The meeting will be in a couple weeks after that.
Okay. I don't have any comments or questions. I can start getting a letter out and we can have something, a draft going by the end of this week. So if there are comments that other people want to add to the letter, that'll have that circulating this week for people to fill in.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? We're good? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank
Alright.
you. Nice.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Okay.
Sorry, my daughter is currently losing her mind, so.
All right. Now I know a lot of the stuff they had in there were things that we had recommended back in 2019. And I know Erica had sent out a letter for that, and we had been waiting all this time for the stormwater protection plan. So that's something that we didn't have the first time around, so we couldn't even give them comments on that. So it's nice to see that they have something, but yeah, that is, they're gonna be right above the Greenway, assuming that the DPW site goes through and all of that moves forward. That's going to be a site that's directly above the Sing Sing Kill walkway.
Yeah.
So that's definitely sites that's definitely a report that we would want to get, you know, as far as the structural integrity of putting a building there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how we could, you know, I mean, proceed until that's done. I mean,
I would recommend that your comments be, we want X, Y, and Z information, and
Okay.
we'd like you to come back. I think you're certainly welcome to do that. At this point, you know, they did submit their CAF, so you're gonna wanna try to start taking a look at some of the LWRP questions. But, you know, the structural engineering questions are I think are the questions that we all have right now. So we're waiting on some information.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't want to assume that the same thing will happen to their site as what happened to 80 Main Street. It's just really hard to ignore that when it's glaring right in front of you as you're about to start a construction project. So
Yeah.
in no means do I want to insinuate that that would be the same thing that happens, but these are definitely things that we have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, everybody's got the same questions about the engineering. And it is on the side of a hill, so it's not like avoidable. Those is the answer. They're part of the EAF. So, and they were, I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at the staff report, but there was an evaluation of the EAF, and so there was a lot of no answer right now. We'll get back to you later, to be determined. And those are not acceptable answers for an EAF, so they need to be answered.
And yeah, when the note on the drawing says existing concrete block retaining wall, it does make one wonder if, you know, if you're just wishing rather than working on good engineering principles. So those are really big questions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know that our consultant engineer wants to know, they'd like to have some boring tests done, percolation tests, grading plan. So there's a lot of open questions.
Well, and in the meantime, since they own the property and that now the red house essentially is, I believe, has been given historical or heritage status. Oh, it has not, so they can just literally let it rot while this process takes place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think their intention is to let it rot, so it's not, I want to sort of contrast what they're doing with what, you know, you've seen at some of the other historic sites in the village, where there was sort of a grumbling about, fine, we'll do it if we have to. There's an earnest desire to see that building as a part of the actual building. They'd have to totally change their plans if that building didn't stay. So they're not, I don't think that they're like allowing it to rot in as much as they're just kind of going through the process. I know that the last time they came, there was, you know, a decision to sort of walk away from the project, and I think he even put it up for sale, and then the owner changed his mind and decided he did want to move forward with the project. So that's kind of why there was this 2-year break in submitting it. Not so much that they were trying to let it rot, as much as they were just uncertain about whether or not they wanted to move forward with the project.
Understood.
So they're really, and again, there hasn't been any changes either. I think the materials that were submitted then are essentially the materials that were submitted now with some new information, SWIP being one of them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I don't have any other comments. I'll get a letter started tonight and start circulating that. I had some comments that Leilani and Katie had already brought up during the questioning, so I'll get that started and send that out. So I guess if anything, we should try to get a letter, or at least whatever we have at this point before they do their assessments sometime in the next couple of weeks, because I know I won't be able to get it in time for Thursday.
No, I don't think the revision deadline is for them to submit materials.
Okay.
I think what would be helpful is we'd like to publish the agenda like the middle of next week. So
Okay.
it'd be nice to have that material as a part of the agenda at that point, but you know, middle of next week and next week, I think it's probably about the same.
All right. I can get something to you by then. I have full-time work schedule again. It's wonderful. I'll have time to do things. So if there are no other, are there any other comments about this project? No? All right, awesome. So I guess, where are we? Sorry, I have 3 different things open here. All right, so High Meadow Co-op, I guess, is not coming tonight. I think it's safe to say that. The next on the agenda is the spotted lanternfly mitigation. So I just wanted to let everyone know I attended the spotted lanternfly workshop that was at T-Town a few weeks ago. And they provided some great information on how to try to stop the spread of spotted lanternfly. Depending on which county you're in, they're taking different approaches. In some counties, it's they're just treating it as if it's a complete invasion, and they're asking people to not report anymore because they have said, we already know. We're not in that county. So we're still at a point in Westchester where they want us to report any spotting of the lanternfly that we see. And there are a few sites already that have had infestations. I believe T-Town is one of them where they've been spotting it, as well as Wishney Park. From what I understand, there have been some spottings there as well. So right now, I guess, mitigation at this point in the season is going to be very difficult because they've moved into their egg laying stages now. So this would be more for next year. So seeing how rapidly it grew within New York City and it spread from there, it's not a matter of if, but when. So I have some websites that they recommended, one of them being from Cornell. So I'm going to put together something where we can get that out to the rest of the community and start circulating that in the emails. But if there's anything that anybody else comes across or you think might be useful, please let me know, send it my way. And we can get this stuff out to Ossining. So I just wanted to do a quick thing with that. Also, Stuart and Jaime sent me the Tribs for Trees application over the summer. I unfortunately didn't have time to do for the August deadline, but I would love to see if we can get something out for the March deadline. So if someone can help me put together that application, that would be really, really great. I have that. I can forward it to you and we can get started. So we have to identify a site in a tributary within the village that we would want to do tree plantings for and come up with a plan for how we would take care of that tree over the course of the first couple of years to guarantee that it's a successful planting. So one of the biggest complaints that I've heard is that once the trees are planted, after they're planted, it kind of just, trees aren't always successful. And that all depends on where you are and how much effort you're putting into taking care of them. So if it's, we can do something for the next deadline, that would be a lot of fun.
Piling off of this, where isn't there like a historic tree registry that we were going to launch?
So it's all happening like sporadically, but it's happening. So a part of it is the historic thing. So I've been slowly but surely getting the whole social media thing up and running. But so we would need to start getting it out to the community, getting word out for people to submit their trees. So at this point, I think it's just more of how can we get word out to the community to start telling us about the trees they want nominated, if there are any particular trees that they think are important, their value to the community. Like this is a point where we need to do more public outreach so that we can get some responses.
What if, let's say I, for example, could nominate some of the trees on my property, and then what would be my responsibility if they were designated historic trees? It's like when you have a historic home that's landmarked, or if you're in a historic district, you have to do certain things. I'm just curious. So like, would I have to make sure it stays? You have to do anything or just let the tree continue to live?
That I'm
I
not
Cut it
100%
down,
sure.
right?
I
Could we
think
cut
that
them
the
down?
question becomes, what are the protections that you're going to provide in the actual code? Number one, and then I assume what makes a historic tree is probably dependent on your criteria. Are you only looking at old trees, or are you looking at trees that have some sort of relative importance because of their location, or who planted them, or the type of specimen, or so I imagine you could set up a whole host of criteria to make it important. There are probably a bunch of really old trees in Crawbucky Park that nobody even knows about. They're just big old trees. And there are probably other trees that are central, like not that you want to necessarily landmark this, but there's like the holiday tree or whatever in Market Square, right? It seems to be
It's
relatively, it's dying, but it's important to some people.
dead, actually, it's dead.
What they're technically known as are significant trees.
No, okay.
And if it's a significant tree, you can't do anything to it without a permit, which,
And you can't even have limbs trimmed or anything like that?
well, no, you can do
Stuff.
you can do what, an arborist might say is necessary to maintain the health of the tree. As you can with a historic building, you can maintain the building without having to get a certificate of appropriateness. But if you wanted to, basically remove the tree or do anything along those lines, that would require a permit, even if it did not meet a particular, DBH or anything like that. If it was classified as a significant tree, it then sort of has its own requirements in terms of permits and things like that. But you could always maintain the tree as if you needed to prune it, if you needed trimming or anything like that, if it was coming close to lines or things like that, that can always be done.
So for example, if my property has 2 or 3 sugar maples that date back to when Ellis Place was lined with these trees, and I have some of the few ones that are left, that would be significant, right? And then, I have probably 3 of the tallest trees in the village, and there are 3 evergreens that are all together that are, there used to be quite a few of these very tall evergreens in this neighborhood, and you can still see a couple of others around, but they've mostly been cut down. So they're pretty significant too, because it's extremely tall and old. So,
You could, Dana, because a significant tree is defined as a list of trees or grove of trees determined by the Board of Trustees on the recommendation of the EAC to be significant on the basis of specimen quality, historical significance, or other unique characteristic, and which designation has been consented to by the property owner. So if you've got that, then basically, the EAC can make a recommendation and the board will, I can't see the Board of Trustees saying no. And it would then be added to or become part of the list of significant trees.
did you see the massive, is it an oak tree, the one on,
Yeah,
big limb?
yeah, it lost a huge limb due to an improper pruning, I guess, from a while ago. But
Really?
yeah, that was the one I was just gonna say, is that oak tree, it's like 500 years old. So it existed before pretty much everything here.
But who owns it? Whose property is it on?
It's on, I think they are like 20 Watson. It's a white house with like,
Yeah, I know which one it is. Okay, so it's their tree. Yeah.
yeah, it's their tree. I thought it straddled the property between the White House with the horse and buggy decor and the other house that has like the huge lawn and that overlooks. But no, it actually belongs to the White House. It's on her property entirely.
When did this limb fall?
Like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So the owner had to come in and they just like, they chopped up the limb. They haven't done anything to help the tree heal where the chunk of tree fell out.
It's funny you say this because I just spoke to someone the other day who told me that they had a giant limb fall off of their tree onto their son's car. And I'm just curious that that might be the same
It's the same
person
one.
now. Okay.
It's the same one. So,
Oh my,
so
Wow, it fell on a car in the street.
yeah, it was like it's like they were parked just basically like right at the edge of where it fell. And so it just, I mean, it was such a, I mean, it was like, 400 or 500 pounds of tree. It just took out their back
Wow.
bumper.
Yeah, the person described the limb as being the size of a tree.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was pretty big. Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's
good
like
to know.
300 years of growth just gone. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, that would be cool to kind of like move forward. But yeah, Dana, I think that's a really good thing that when we're like publicizing this, is to tell them what that means for them as a
Mhm.
homeowner. Cause yeah, that would be my first question too, is like, well, okay, if I do this, am I suddenly gonna have to like erect like walls around it? I'm gonna have to pay like thousands of dollars every year to prune and like fertilize this thing, like,
sacrifice
Yeah.
things to it, you know.
yeah,
I
how
know
much on the
it's-
financial hook am I gonna be because of the tree is significant?
A lot of people don't want their houses landmarked because then it means they have certain obligations.
Yeah, so,
I had an idea that's related, but actually not completely on topic. And one is, I think it'd be very useful if there were a methodology for encouraging the public, encouraging homeowners to plant trees, appropriately sized, appropriate species. I came up with this idea while I was walking around the neighborhood, and I started saying, and there's no shade, we need a tree there, we need a tree there, we need a tree there. If this is an interesting idea, I'm not sure if there's any
tax
method
incentive?
other than encouraging people.
Well, that's interesting because I know someone who's a new homeowner here and he wants to put a tree. There's the street needs more trees, and he said, who owns the property between the sidewalk and the street? Where the trees would go. He
I
said,
spoke to him the other day too.
oh.
I always thought that
Brian?
was public owned.
Granoff? Yeah, he's great. You will not meet a more enthusiastic new resident of Ossining than him.
That's
So,
wonderful.
You guys
Yeah.
should get him on the EAC. We should get him on the
He's-
EAC.
I did speak to him the other day, and I'm trying to nudge in his direction. I actually have spoken to a few people over the summer who have expressed some interest. So I saw that the applications opened up today. So I'm going to send out some emails this week and see if I can kind of like nudge them to submit their application.
Brian, I think, wants to be on the landlord-tenant relations council. He's actually got a rental unit in his house. But I don't know if they need landlords. Stuart, do they need landlords or tenants or?
They need on everything, and what they really need, Dana, is they
Spanish.
need Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
It is like, we can't keep depending on our village clerk or one of our trustees to translate. It is
Yeah.
getting a lot of complaints in from folks who only speak Spanish. And while we can translate the form, if it comes to interviewing, it becomes very difficult. So we really are looking to get across the board, landlord, tenant, or neither. If we could get Spanish speakers, God, it would be helpful.
If you can provide some kind of financial incentive, the teaching assistants and teachers within our school district, most of them speak Spanish fluently because 60% of the students do. We've
That's a good
had to
idea.
reach out with the PTA we brought in a vice president whose parents are first generation immigrants, and she speaks Spanish fluently because we have so many parents that need that. So you might look there.
That's a good idea. No, that would be great, because we
The teaching assistants are always looking.
have suddenly gotten an immense number of landlord tenant complaints. I mean, I think maybe a dozen in the past 2 weeks. And it just,
Yeah, it's.
and about half are from Spanish speakers, either directly or from folks who are submitting on their behalf. So it's, it slows it down if we don't have someone who can speak the language. But that's really true across every one of our boards. It's not just LTRC, you see it more, but it's really, across all the things. I will say this: if you folks see a tree that you think is in need of some TLC or something like that, let me know, because we can have the village arborist go out and actually look at the tree.
The big oak on Watson and Eldridge, it needs love.
Leilani, just shoot me a note.
Yep.
Because I will ask Joe Augustinelli to ask our arborist Craig Stevens to go out and look. Because if there are certain things that need to be done, or at least we can let the homeowners know what needs to be done. We have a limited amount of what we can actually do where the tree is completely on private property, but on certain circumstances, that's important. And with regard to the pruning of the tree, while pruning of the tree is allowed, obviously the pruning of the tree can't be done in such a manner that it severely damages the tree. So, unfortunately, what we find is that a number of the homeowners, either try to do it themselves, or someone says, well, I can do it, and they do it, and they do a horrific job, and someone could get badly hurt. Put that aside for a second. It just could be, it's very damaging to the tree. So, the arborist has been a big help to us on many different projects. So, so just shoot me a note, and we can certainly get that person to go out there and at least give us an opinion as to what the story is.
Done.
Thanks.
I'm very protective of this tree. I love it. It's one of my favorite features of Austin. Like, take the tree.
Which tree is this?
Also, with regard to plantings, annually, I get stuff from the DEC. They have, if you've gone up to Saratoga, before you get into Saratoga is the state forest, where they actually grow their saplings. And the village can, or organizations can, you can order them every year. You get an order form and you can order them. And so that may be also something, for us as a committee to look at, so that we can think about where we might like to do that, because the only thing we would have to arrange for is to get them. I think we might be able to figure that out among all of us. But you drive up on, I forget I think it's Route 9, essentially all the way up there, but you go past and it's the forest. It's just before you get to the waters and all the stuff up there in Saratoga. They have this massive forest, and every year they advertise, we're selling our saplings, come and pick them up. And
That's awesome.
so it's just
I saw
something,
it on their
I see it again, I'll send it
DEC
around.
website. I
Yeah,
saw it on
please.
the DEC website. I've been looking through their applications for grants, because I'm trying to get something so that we can do a tree inventory here. So that was one of the things that I came across. They also had, and they haven't reopened it yet, but they had a really good grant to do an inventory that was done in 2020 was the last time I saw that this grant was open, but I keep looking to see if they open it up. But I did see the thing for Saratoga and a couple of other ones that could be really good. So, and there were a few that I saw that dealt with environmental education. So I'll see if I can pull those out, and maybe we can throw a few out there.
Yeah.
I'm also attending, because I'm trying to get a grant for this project, I'm attending an EPA webinar next week for grant writing and budget, creating a budget. So stuff that we can apply to this.
Could the village offer some kind of like tax decrease or incentive for planting trees on your property, or
I don't know.
or
Uh,
identifying your?
you know what? I don't know if other municipalities do like that. I think that would have to be something the village would have to do, because I don't believe there's anything specifically through the state that has that. State has, exemptions for firefighters, or, seniors, or people who are disabled and things like that. But Leilani, it's something to look at. I just don't know, but it could well be that there are other municipalities that actually, at least from a local level, do something, along those lines. And if you're within the village, anything that potentially could reduce your property tax bill would always be welcome.
Right. I mean, it doesn't have to be much, like even like 150. I mean, that, like
No,
2 or 3
understood.
trees, and you're like, $1,000 cheaper.
Nope, gotcha.
So. I
It
mean,
adds
not that we want to take taxes away from our poor beleaguered village budget, but.
And if you paired it with the tree inventory, maybe you target those areas that were really heat islands and didn't have any shade.
Yeah.
Well, that's done in an intentional way, and nobody can say, look, you're just giving your friends, you know,
Yeah.
give some people a privilege, a chance to create a more, you know,
That's a great idea.
improve their property values or something.
Yeah. Trees are pretty. Sorry, what's this High Meadow Co-op sustainability effort?
They were the ones that had contacted me a few weeks ago. They wanted to do some stuff on their property and wanted to get an idea of what we do as a council and if there were things that they could talk to us about, but they didn't show.
We'll put them on for next month.
All right, I'll follow up with her and see with Alexis and see if they still want to come
That's fine.
by and talk.
No problem.
That's all I have for tonight. Are there any other things that anyone wants to bring up? Or any other comments?
One thing just for everybody to keep in mind, we are, it's good we have Trustee White here. We are starting budget time. The various departments are putting their budgets in now. The Corporation Council put his in, and hopefully this year I will actually get the reclining chair that I have asked for the past 6 years. But some reason they think it's a joke.
I have no idea. Well, I'll push for that, Stuart.
I knew you would. Thank you, my dear.
You're welcome.
If you need
But
villagers.
the reason I mention this is if you see certain training that you think would be helpful, and I mean other than just like the 4 hours and things like that, but certain things that might be helpful to do it, maybe get someone from OHS at minimum wage or a little more to work on an inventory or something like that. Let Jaime and let me know, because we can always at least ask to have it put into the budget. There is training money there, but there's no reason that it cannot be requested. But this is, really the time. The department heads are putting their requests in now. The actual meetings with the board will probably occur, I guess they occur in October, November, but it's a good time to start thinking about it. So if there are, certain trainings you like out there, which are not necessarily, which may cost something, but which may involve, dealing more from an EAC end or things like that, please let us know, because it's something we could look into. And if the board is amenable, it's something we could add into the budget. And again, this is the time where those calculations and things start. So, keep listening. When I get the DEC announcements just about every single day about grant opportunities and things like that. Anything that comes across my desk, I usually send to Jamie Kane so she can then forward it to all you folks. But if you also see something through any other organizations, be it American Planning Association or anything like that, which is of interest and which, even if it has some cost associated with it, and you think it might be something of interest for, the general EAC membership to then present, beyond that, please feel free. Obviously, we now have much more in terms of wetlands and the role for your board with regard to that. So anything like that, the time is now, because the budget gets adopted in December, but you'll be surprised how quickly we will be there. And so to the extent you see anything, let Jaime and me know so that we can put that in and, make the pitch to the board members.
We have requested in the planning department more money to get interns over the summer. And this past summer, we did get 2 college interns. One is a student who had just graduated from architecture school. The other one is currently in undergrad. And so their job was to work on this project, getting all of our maps sort of organized, which was this very tedious project. And I wasn't even sure that they'd be able to finish it. They ended up finishing it. It's already been yielding a lot of benefit. Now we can go find all of our big format maps, So if there are projects that you can think of, whether that's like a tree list or survey or anything like that, that might be, you know, a good summertime project for an intern or two, now's the time to start thinking about that as well, because that will help make the case for us to get that funding again in the future to bring students in, because you gotta have something for them to do. And those are the kind of projects that I think are really good for college interns. So.
I'll
Folks,
send
just
some
note,
stuff.
next month, your meeting is Thursday, October 6th, because of the Jewish holiday on the Tuesday night. So it's going to be Thursday, the 6th, which will be a busy night. So Jaime will run that meeting because Dana and I will be at the Board of Trustees meeting, because the Board of Trustees meeting, which would ordinarily be Wednesday, the 5th, has been pushed to the 6th. So that's a busy night. But in any event, so just so everyone knows, it's going to be Thursday, and we will be working, you know, as Kate, you said, we're opening up the list. So if you've got people who are interested, please do so. Victor has advised, Victor does not want to be a full-time member. Okay, and given, you know, the issues, you know, the work that he does, it would be difficult. So if we can find more members, it will obviously be great, so that we can sort of fill the board and you know, not have to worry about quorums or things like that. But if you know folks who are interested, please, 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 we will fill those slots as quickly as we can. Promise.
I'll nudge some people.
Thanks.
I'll see if I can get them.
Okay.
And I'll send you guys an email as well, because I did have some grants that could possibly be useful for the EAC.
Good.
So I'll get those out to you.
Great. Otherwise, Thursday, October 6th, folks.
So I guess, are there any other comments? We're good. All right. I guess so move to end the meeting.
Seconded.
All right. Have a wonderful night, everybody, and I
Take care,
will
all.
email you in the next week.
Take care.
Thanks, Kate.
All right.
Night, great meeting, Kate.